everyone, I'm Julia Schaefer and welcome to Farewell My Manicure TV. On this week's episode, when we get down and dirty in the garden, I look at growing a terrific summer fruit, the pineapple. We take a trip to the shed and I'm going to teach you how to use the drop saw and create another unique Christmas gift. And right now I'd like to look at an accessory that we use during the party season that perhaps you might want to think about discontinuing. Welcome to Farewell My Manicure TV. Let's get started, shall we? This Christmas season, I'd like you to consider doing one thing for me. Consider going straw-free. Yeah, straws, I know, it's just a little piece of plastic, but in the United States alone, 500 million drinking straws, plastic ones, are used and discarded every day. That's enough to fill 127 school buses. That's just crazy. And of course they end up in landfill and they won't break down for hundreds of years. When they do break down, they're photodegradable, not biodegradable. So the sun has an impact, breaks them down into smaller and smaller particles of plastic, which remain in the soil, leach their toxic chemicals into the soil. Ultimately, little pieces of plastic end up in our waterways and end up in our oceans to be ingested by our sea life and ultimately to be ingested by us. So it is a nightmare and something that you should consider getting out of your entertaining this Christmas. Now, what are the alternatives? Well, if you need to have a straw and really they're not an essential item, then get the paper ones because they're totally compostable. So you can chuck them in the compost heap or give them to your worms to eat. So I hope that you'll take this on board because one little plastic drinking straw on a global scale makes a huge difference. While Benny's outside washing the car, I thought I'd steal a little bit of time in the shed and we're going to create another handmade Christmas gift. This is going to require us to have a frame to start with, which means a lot of 90-degree angles. So I'm going to show you how to cut a mitre using the drop saw. So what's a mitre, I hear you say? Well, it's this. When you join two pieces of timber together and you cut a 45-degree angle so they meet up and create a 90-degree corner. So we're going to set the drop saw base to 45 degrees and cut our timber so that it creates this lovely 90-degree angle. And of course we'll have to do it 4 times in order to get our corners sorted. So I'm going to set up and then I'll show you what to do. So this is our drop saw. It's a real beaut, particularly when you need to cut several lengths of timber all the same size. So there's a base plate here and you can perhaps see that it has the angle of the cut. There's a nut at the back here which we just loosen and then we can move the base plate around and there's a little pointer here to the 45-degree angle. Oh, it's a bit stiff. There we go. Round, 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 round. There we go. So now we've got a 45-degree angle happening. So when the saw comes down and the timber's laid flat against this board here, it's going to create the 45-degree angle that we need. Really clever. So I'll put on my proper protective gear and then I'll have a go and I'll show you what to do. The saw can get really noisy, so we need some glasses or some protective glasses. I've got to use these in order to see properly, and our earmuffs. So get ready. It gives a bit of a kick to start with. It's very noisy, but it's totally safe. Just don't put your hands anywhere near where the spinny sharp thing is. Here we go. So there you have it. Can you see how that little offcut is on the 45-degree angle? And of course the other bit, which I'm going to use, has the opposite 45-degree angle. So we've got our mitre ready to go, which is terrific. Now we've got to go ahead and cut those several times in order to make our frame. I just wanted to point out that there's also a clamp on the drop saw, so that holds the wood in place, so your hands really don't need to be anywhere near it, just to balance things out. And there's a push button as well as a trigger to get it going, so it's really fail safe. You can't hurt yourself. So I've done a mitre on both sides of this piece of timber, and because I'm working with offcuts and I want to make the biggest picture frame I can, I'm going to now use this as a template, go over to my other offcuts and make sure that I've got enough to cut 3 more pieces that are identical to this. That will make a square frame. If you want to make a rectangular frame, then you need 2 pieces this size and 2 slightly longer. So to use the top piece as a template, simply lay it on top of the second piece, get your pencil and draw in the angles. So as you can see, all the 4 corners meet up, which is fantastic. It's not absolutely perfect done with a drop saw because there is a little bit of wiggle room. So we smear a little bit of glue, just Aqua Dear, on both sides of the mitre, and then we stick them together. And then I've cut out these little squares of timber, which we're going to put on the back of our frame in that corner to hold it together. So we're going to use a couple of screws just to place them there. Okay, so there you go, it's all held together now. So all of the ugly stuff is on the back. Now we're going to just put some wires through it so that we can hang some little photographs in it. So now I've got the frame in the vise, and I'm going to take the cordless drill and drill some really fine holes through from the middle of this inside of the frame through on an angle to the back part of the frame. We're going to thread a wire through with some little clothes pegs on it, little mini clothes pegs, so that you can use it to hang up your photos. It'll be really cute. Make sure it went right through. Yep, right through. I'll do the same on the other side. Make sure that went through. Yep, perfect. So now all you need is some wire, some pliers, and some cute little craft clothes pegs. And we're going to thread the wire through and put the clothes pegs on. Here we go. Chop off the bendy bit of the wire. Oh, that doesn't cut very effectively. There we go. Thread it through this hole from the back. Thread it through the clothes pegs. That's the little round springy bit of the clothes peg. All 4 of them on. 1, 2, 3, and where are you? 4. Through the frame and through the other hole, which then ultimately will end up out the back, and leave yourself, you know, a good 10 centimetres of wire hanging out the other side, and then chop this one off. Okay, so all we've got to do now is put some screws on the back that we can wind the excess wire around to keep the tension in the little clothesline. I've screwed a couple of screws in, not all the way in, but just underneath where the wire pokes out of the holes in the back of the frame. Now we're going to wind the wire around and around the screw, and then use the cordless screwdriver to tighten the screws, and that'll hold the tension on that wire that's running through the frame. Round and round and round. Okay, and then tighten her up. Beautiful. This one the same. Pull it tight as you can. Round and round and round. Didn't leave myself very much on that one. Tighten it. Alrighty, so we've got our frame with our little pegs in it, ready to go. Now we're going to probably give it a bit of a stand. I'm going to paint it white and distress it a little bit, and then I'll get back to you when we've got it all ready to show. Almost forgot, one last thing that you have to do is put something on the back to be able to hang the frame on the wall. There's these cute little picture hanging things, and they have a hole ready-made for the screw, and they come with a screw to put in so you can hang your picture frame up. So I'm going to do that now and then get started painting. Here's the finished article. Doesn't it look great? Look, it was literally made with bits and pieces that we had, offcuts of timber, bits of wire. I did have to go and buy the craft pegs, but they are totally biodegradable because they're made of timber. And it just is a fantastic, simple gift that you can make. Now, you may not have access to a shed full of power tools, and that's okay. If you pop down to your local op shop, you can find frames like this that have been used for pictures before. Take out the picture, take out the glass, give it a coat of paint, let that dry, sand it back, make it look distressed. You will need access to a cordless drill so that you can drill the holes for the wire, but it's a really simple way of upcycling an old picture frame to make a terrific, unique, handmade Christmas gift. I just printed these pictures off the internet and hung them in the frame, but if you're giving it to a special person, perhaps you might print off a photo of you and that person to put in the frame, or it could be used for children's artwork to display that. Lots of uses, lots of ideas. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today, and I hope you get involved in some power tool pandemonium and make some amazing handmade Christmas gifts. One of the things I love about summertime in Queensland is that we get some magnificent pineapples that we can eat. They're luscious and juicy, and thankfully 2 years ago I took the top off one of our pineapples and put it in the ground, and look what we've been rewarded with, this lovely free pineapple. I love it. It's part of my free food project. I love the fact that nature provides us with food that we can then put in the seeds or the roots or the tops of the plants into the garden, and they generate new fruit for us and new veggies for us again. So if you think that growing a pineapple requires lots of care and attention, well, no, you're probably incorrect. In fact, if you can grow a mango anywhere near your area, you can definitely grow a pineapple. They definitely prefer a warm tropical climate in the northern and eastern parts of Australia particularly, but they are very, very adaptable. They're also one of the only edible, not only, but one of the few edible of the 2,000 species of bromeliads. So you've seen bromeliads around. They're beautiful flowering plants, and they have these sort of leaf structure. But these are one of few that you can actually eat the fruit from. So that's very cool. So originally they came from South America, and Christopher Columbus discovered them in 1493 in the Caribbean. And they were actually being grown out the front of people's homes as a sign of welcome. So this tradition then made it through into European culture, and in the early 17th century, people would actually place carved stone pineapples at the front of their homes, and maybe you've seen some of those, and pineapple sculptures have become really popular once again. So it was a sign of welcome, which is really lovely. Now, they grow from about 1.5 metres tall and about 1 metre wide, and they're prickly little suckers, so make sure if you're going to plant many of them, that you leave lots of distance in between each and every one of them. They prefer a well-drained soil, so these raised garden beds are excellent for planting pineapples, or choose terracotta pots if you're going to plant them in a pot, because they love that drainage. The cool thing about pineapples is that they contain a substance called bromelain, and bromelain, if you eat a beautiful, sweet, sugary pineapple, gives you a feeling of well-being. So why wouldn't you grow some pineapples in your garden? Have fun. Take a pineapple from your farmer's market, eat it with your family, chop the top off and put it in the garden, and in 2 years' time you'll be rewarded with your own beautiful pineapple. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and join us on the website www.farewellmymanicure.com. See you next time.